Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good Saturday. Okay, I hope that everyone is all relaxed at home. And today is a very hot day. Okay, so it's not raining. So I hope that everyone is well hydrated and you have your nice lunch. Okay, so today I'm going to continue actually chapter 9, 9.3 and 9.4. Last week, I already mentioned about the process of digestion, the structure of the digestive system, and also digestion, the process, the entire process, and also the end products. So today, I'm going to continue with this to see what happens to the products of digestion, and also explain about what is assimilation. All right, okay, let me share screen. All right, okay, I hope you can see this. So this is absorption 9.3. Okay, I think many schools are around maybe around chapter 9 or chapter 10, or maybe even after that. So I will do it slowly because we are a bit, lack of time as well. The exams are coming soon. So I hope that everyone is getting ready to, revise your work and so on. Okay, now, so let me continue with this. Now, what is this picture that I'm showing you? I'm sure you can see the word lumen, and then the muscle layer, longitudinal muscle layer, and circular muscle layer. This is referring to the ileum. Yes, okay, let me see who is here with me today. All right. I think, hi. Hi, Kenneth. Okay, thanks for watching. All right, nice to have you here with me. So if you have any questions, just post on the chat. Okay, so cross-section of ileum. Why we need to talk about ileum? Because this is where absorption happens. Okay, we have already arrived at the ileum earlier lesson where we have the carbohydrate, protein, and lipids. They are already been broken down into the simplest form. For the carbohydrate, we will have the monosaccharides, which is the glucose, fructose, and also galactose. And for the protein, we already have amino acids. And for the lipids, we have the fatty acids and glycerol. Now let's see, first of all, what are the adaptations of ileum? Okay, what makes ileum so efficient at doing the job of absorption of food, absorbing the food that is digested? So let's look at now, in order to answer this question of adaptations, remember to bear in mind this standard way of answering. You have to talk about the feature and also how it helps. So the F and the E lah, right? We'll call it F lah. So the feature. So number one, the ileum is very long. Okay, the ileum is a few meters long. So by having it structured long, okay, how does it help? When you have it as when the structure is long, that means it takes a long time, or it gives additional chances for the substance to be absorbed. That means it is very little chance for it to escape being absorbed. Okay, so it starts from the beginning and then it goes all the way down, a long way to go. So it ensures that all the nutrients that are supposed to be absorbed will be absorbed eventually when it reaches the end. Okay, so rather than have a short one, a long one will make sure that nothing gets escaped, nothing escapes, no nutrient is escaped. Okay, another one is the internal layer is folded. So you will see here, this is the folding. Okay, if you can see this diagram here, this shows the folding. This is not showing the villus actually, This, besides the villus that we will see later, this is actually the folding of the internal structure of the ileum. So it is folded, highly folded. And also on the folded surface, you will have a lot of finger-like projections called the villi. So all these are features. That's why I put it FFF. Okay. Now here is the diagram of the villi. Of course, this is graphic, right? It's not the real picture. And this shows the finger-like projection. It will further increase the surface area. So all these three, ileum being long and highly folded, and also with a lot of this villi, the main purpose is to actually provide a bigger surface area. And when you have a bigger surface area, okay, as you learned earlier, there is more contact okay, of the substance to this membrane. So the substance will be easily absorbed into the villi or the villus. Okay, so it's to increase absorption actually, to make sure that the substance get absorbed, all of them get absorbed into the villi. So provides a bigger surface area. Okay, now next one, narrow lumen. Okay, the lumen is narrow. Okay, so it slows down the movement of food. When it slows down the movement of food, that means there is a lot of chance for everything to be absorbed. Nothing escapes. Nothing will what do you call, will terlepas lah, right? It doesn't, like if it moves too fast, it's possibly that some of the nutrients may not get a chance to be absorbed. Okay, so this is to slow down, right? Being narrow. And then let's look at the villus now. So the villus is actually projection. So you can see over here, this is the villus. Yeah, all right. So if we were to magnify a villus, or we look at the cross section of the villus, we will see that inside there are two networks of these tubes. All right. So you will have, look at the outer structure first. All right. Now, epithelial layer is one cell thick. If you want to talk about the question asks you for adaptations of villus, what makes villus so efficient at carrying out the job of absorption? So you have to again discuss the features. The feature is it has one cell thick epithelial layer. Okay, this layer here, this layer I'm talking about is one cell thick. Okay, this what you see, and additionally here is the microvillus. After I will explain also. So this one cell thick I'm talking about is this surface. Is one cell thick. Okay, when it is one cell thick, it will enable efficient absorption because the surface is thin, so the substance is easily can pass through. That is one pair. So you have to talk about F and the E. Okay, you write it together like this. And then let's talk about another feature. On the in the villus, there are a lot of goblet cells. Okay, these are specialized cells which have been adapted to produce a substance called mucus. They secrete mucus. So when they secrete mucus, it becomes slippery. All right, the substance are easy to pass through. You also see goblet cells at earlier on. There's one organ that has goblet cells. Okay, if you remember, earlier on before this, we have the duodenum, and above the duodenum, you will have the stomach. Okay, the stomach produces mucus as well, and it is to prevent the hydrochloric acid from corroding and acting upon the membrane, the epithelial lining of your stomach. So it also has goblet cells. So goblet cells function is to secrete mucus, to aid digestion here, and also actually for the stomach is to prevent the acid from corroding the lining. So here is for aiding digestion. Okay, next, rich network of blood capillaries. So you can see here, the orange color line here is blood, okay, and the other one, the blue one, is also blood capillaries. So it passes into each villus, and the function of this is to absorb the nutrients. Once it goes into it, it will take it away. It will be transported to where it is needed. Okay, later we will see where it goes. It is to transport digested products. Okay, then you also have that yellow little tube there in the middle there that is called the lacteal. Okay, the lacteal is a separate system actually. Okay, so this lacteal absorbs, okay, fat-soluble nutrients. That means your fatty acid and your glycerol, your vitamin A, D, E, and K. It will go into the lacteal instead, not into the blood capillary. The blood capillary will absorb water-soluble nutrients, water-soluble substances like vitamin B and C, and amino acid, glucose, and so on. Okay, so lacteal is to absorb these fatty acids and glycerol, and also the vitamin A, D, E, and K. So it's to transport, because it's a system that transports it away. Okay, so you have a few adaptations here, the features. We also have, you have intestinal glands inside your small intestine, and the intestinal glands here is to produce the enzyme, which is important to break down the molecules into the smallest unit, which is able to be passed into the membrane of the cells. Okay, so you have to get the molecules to be broken down into the smallest unit, and then only it can go into the blood, it can go into the lacteal to be passed on to all the body cells in your entire body. Okay, and one more. All right, let's look at one more. We also have, you see all these special structures on the epithelial lining. You will see microvilli. Okay, so it's just like villi of the villi, okay, or the villus of the villus. You have even tinier, smaller projections. They're called microvilli. So the microvillus here, or microvilli, is also to increase the surface area. So everything here is to make sure that all the nutrients that passes through does not escape, and it gets to go into the blood vessel and also the lacteal. Okay, so here microvillus, the function, okay, is to provide a large surface area. Okay, it further increases the surface area. Okay, so we have seen the adaptations of ileum and also villus. So let's see what happens, or what type of food is absorbed, how is it absorbed, and where does it go. All right. Okay, so we can actually divide all the nutrients that happen to be at the end products, the end products of digestion, into two groups. Okay, so the first group here, I will classify it under the group fructose, glucose, galactose, and so on. All right, we call it first group here, and this is another group. So this is the water-soluble substances: fructose, glucose, galactose, amino acids, vitamins B and C, and also water. So for this, I mentioned earlier, all these substances will go into the blood capillary. Okay, later we'll see that. And the other grouping here, okay, we look at this one first. All right, blood capillaries. So it is absorbed through the epithelial cells into the blood capillaries. Okay, and what is the method of absorption? So you've learned so many methods. You've learned the facilitated diffusion, simple diffusion, osmosis, and so on. Okay, so for these substances, it is absorbed through facilitated diffusion, going through the carrier protein, and so on, and also active transport. Okay, facilitated diffusion and active transport for fructose, glucose, galactose, and amino acids. Because these molecules are large, they need the carrier protein to pass in through the cell. All right. Now for vitamins B and C, they are relatively smaller. They do not need these carrier proteins. Okay, so these vitamins B and C will be dissolved in the water. So as you know, water, the only method that goes into the cell, or is being passed into the cell, is through the osmosis. Okay, for water it's always osmosis. And vitamins B and C, because they are water soluble, they will pass in together with water and goes into the cell through osmosis as well. So it's absorbed with water. Okay, it passes into the cell. Okay. All right. Okay. So those are your water soluble nutrients. Okay, or substances. What about the fat soluble? There are only two. If it's not water soluble, it will be fat soluble. If it's not fat soluble, it has to be water soluble. Okay. The other grouping will be the fat soluble vitamins, or the nutrients. That will be fatty acid and glycerol. So for fatty acid and glycerol, when they enter the lacteal, they will go into the lacteal. All right, they go into the lacteal. They will be combined. Earlier on, it was separated. Your fat is separated into fatty acid and glycerol, digested. All right, but once it enters the lacteal, it will be recombined again. All right, so this is in the lacteal. And also vitamins A, D, E, and K. These are fat soluble vitamins. They enter the lacteal as well, and then they go into another system. This is called the lymphatic system, actually. All right, absorption methods. Okay, for fat soluble substances. Okay, you know that, remember, it goes through the phospholipid bilayer. Okay, all these substances, no matter they are big or they are small, as long as they are lipid soluble, they enter through the phospholipid bilayer through simple diffusion. Okay, so here you can break it down, and then you'll find it easier to remember. So it's water soluble nutrients and also fat soluble nutrients. Okay, all right. Now we know what is absorbed, it goes where. What happens after that? Okay, so now we're going to go into assimilation. Okay, absorption easy to understand lah. Is going into the villus, going into the lacteal, going into the blood capillaries. Okay, that is absorption. But where is it going to go? How are they going to be used? Okay, how you know that you need all these nutrients, but who is going to use it? Where are they going to be used? What happens to it? So this is the meaning of assimilation. Not many people understand the meaning of assimilation. Assimilation means how is your body going to make use of the nutrients that you have absorbed? Okay, are you going to use it to produce energy? For example, glucose. Glucose will be oxidized to produce energy. That is assimilation. You are making use of it. Or are you going to use your amino acid to make new cells or to make plasma protein? That is also assimilation. You are using the substance from your food, which is amino acid, to make new cells for repair of cells. Okay, to make new cells, to repair the injured cells and so on, to replace old cells. So that is also assimilation. Another thing is, what about fats? Okay, what do you use your fat for? Your fat will be stored inside your body. It can be function as a insulation to protect you from the heat, from the cold, and also it can also be a storage of food when you are starving, right? When you don't get enough carbohydrates, you finish your supply of carbohydrates, so your body will turn to fat and oxidize your fat to get energy. So this is what it means by assimilation. What is your body going to do with the food that you have absorbed into your system? How are you going to make use of it? That is assimilation. All right. Okay. So assimilation. What is assimilation? It is a process of absorption and utilization. Utilization means using it. Okay, using what? The vitamins, the minerals, and all the substances that you have absorbed. How are you going to make use of it? Okay, you want to absorb it? Yes, of course, but what for? You absorb it for what? Where are you going to use it? Okay, so these nutrients that you have absorbed, you are going to, there are two important things you are going to do with your nutrients. Number one, you're going to produce energy for yourself to use. You're going to make ATP from the, especially glucose. Okay, your main source of respiration is using your glucose to produce your ATP. And another thing is you want to use the nutrients that you absorb to make part of your cells, part of your body, to make new cells, to produce enzymes, to produce antibodies, to produce plasma protein, is to form complex compounds or structures to make plasma membrane. You need the raw material. Okay, so that's basically two things that you need to your nutrients for. Okay, so these substances will go into two systems. Okay, one is the blood circulatory system. Okay, your human circulatory system, because you need to transport this. When you talk about assimilation, these substances has to go somewhere. So who is going to transport this food and where does it go to? So you need a system of transporting it. You need the blood. You also need the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is the one that connects to your lacteal just now. The one that, your fatty acid and glycerol enters. This is connected to another system called the lymphatic system. So both of them will carry all these nutrients to all over your body to be utilized. Okay, let's see how they're utilized. Okay, and this helps the transport nutrients to be assimilated. Assimilated means make use of lah. Okay, to be oxidized or to be converted into complex compounds. Okay, let's go to the next part. Now, let's look at blood capillaries. Okay, so after all the blood capillary has absorbed the nutrients that is water soluble. Remember from the in the lacteal, sorry, not lacteal, in the villus, it collects all the water soluble nutrients like glucose, fructose, and all this, right? And also vitamin B and C. Where does it go? Okay, so all these blood capillaries will combine. See you see all these small, okay, you see all these blood vessels. I put red color. All these blood vessels, they connect to the small intestine. You can see there's a lot of blood supply going to the blood intestine. After absorbing the nutrients, after absorbing all these substances, it is transported to a very important vein. This is called the hepatic portal vein. So you can see over here, this is the hepatic portal vein. The one that major vein that connects from the intestines, the small intestines, to the liver. It carries important substances, which is your food, just absorbed to go to a station. This station is your liver. So your liver is a very important station. It has to sort out this nutrient wants to go, need to do what you need to do with the nutrient. Am I going to release it into the blood, or am I going to store it? If there's too much of it, the liver will store it. They're not going to release all of it into the blood. Okay, if there's too much glucose, you may have we call it diabetes, right? Diabetic, you could be diabetic. So you got to store some of the glucose into liver, because it's too much of it at one go. You can't release everything into the blood. Okay, so what about the lacteal? Okay, where does the lacteal go? So the lacteal also will converge. Okay, can you see here? This diagram here shows this is a lacteal system. Just now that one was the blood capillary system. Now I will show you a different diagram because it's a different system. Okay, so the intestine absorbs this lacteal in the villus. You have all these fatty acid and glycerol, right? They combine back together. They recombine. There is also your vitamin A, D, E, and K goes into the vessel. We call it lymph vessel. Then where does it go? You see that it all connects to this tube here. This is called a thoracic duct. Okay, the lymph vessels will enter the thoracic duct, and then later this will flow back into an important vein, the subclavian vein. Is right near your collarbone here. Okay, your collarbone, your shoulder here, right? Collarbone, and it should be vein, so it should be blue color. I don't know why they put red color. So it pours back into the subclavian vein. Now this one you will see in detail in chapter 11. Okay, when you learn about the lymphatic system. All right, so later for that. So now you just need to know that for your chapter 9, you need to know that your lacteal is all connected into this lymph vessel. Your lymph vessel collects all these nutrients like your vitamin A, D, E, and K, and also your what do you call that? The glycerol and your fatty acid. They recombine into fat droplets, and they all go into this thoracic duct. So this is your thoracic duct. Okay, thoracic duct, and it pours back into the subclavian vein. So it makes its way back into the blood system. They complement the blood system. Your lymphatic system complements your blood circulatory system. Okay, so enough for you to know now, because you cannot see the whole picture yet. Later in chapter 11, you'll see the whole picture. All right, okay. So that is the left subclavian vein. That's where they go, right? Now. So next one, there's your subclavian vein. Okay, now what is the function of liver? So like just now I said the liver is a very important organ. Right? It's like the station, right? After you have absorbed all the important nutrients from your small intestine, after eating all your food, right? You have your nutrients. Now it has to go to a sorting station. A station where, a place, an organ which decides what you need to do with it. If there's too much of it, I have to store and put it away. Okay, so your liver. Now your liver carries out metabolism of digested food. So either it converts your food into something else, or it may even release it out into the blood here to be used by your cells to produce energy. Okay, now so for your glucose, is basically mainly used for cellular respiration. So your liver, all right, will release some of this glucose into the blood. Okay, it goes up through the hepatic vein. Okay, then it goes to the heart. Then the heart pumps it to all the cells in your body. Okay, then amino acid basically is used for making new things. Okay, making plasma membrane, plasma protein, enzymes, antibodies, hormones. You need the amino acid to do all these things. Okay, so this will be channeled to certain areas, and you're going to make your substances here. All right, next one. So what about excess amino acid? if there is too much of amino acid, right, you do not store excess amino acid. The excess amino acid will be converted into urea. Okay, they will take out the amino group from the amino acid molecule. They will take out the amino group and then it's converted into urea. This process is called deamination. Okay, and this urea will be excreted in your urine. Will be excreted in your urine as urea. Okay, urea is in your urine, and then the remaining molecule can also be oxidized to produce energy. Okay, so something like glucose. Okay, so this is what happens to your amino acid. Okay, if you have too much of it. Next, it also carries out important function of detoxification, your liver. It detoxifies, it's like it breaks down the poison, whatever poison that you have inhaled or you have eaten, for example, medication. If you're on medication, all right, some of the medication finds its way into your blood because it's going to be transported into your cells. So it will enter your liver actually. Your liver will detoxify it, break down substances into something that is less harmful to your body. Okay, so here it breaks down toxic substances in the blood, right? Because it's carried in the blood, especially drugs, right? Whatever drug or medicine that you've taken in your system. And then the toxic substances are expelled through the urine. So sometimes you notice that after you eat certain medication, you can smell the medication in your urine. Yes or no? And then also your coffee also, very common. Coffee, you drink coffee, it goes into your blood, it goes to your system. It also gets to be detoxified in certain ways. And also you find it into your urine. You can smell coffee in your urine. Okay? So this is what happens. It will go into whatever that is detoxified, it will be expelled through the urine. Okay, another function of the liver is to store certain nutrients. So it's a good storage of glucose. When you have too much glucose in your system, in your body, we do not want to release so much glucose into your body because it will be harmful to your cells. So your liver will store your excess glucose. It converts it first into glycogen and stored in the liver and also your other cells, muscle cells and so on. Muscle cells. And also it actually stores iron. Liver is a good storage of a place where you have a lot of minerals that the iron. Okay, good for a good source of iron. Last time when people were anemic means not enough iron, the people usually buy this liver and they will fry the liver or they boil it in water and then they drink the water from the boiled liver. That is a good source of iron actually. Okay, then you also have bile production. Don't forget our previous lesson. Your liver produces the bile, not the gallbladder. The gallbladder stores the bile. Okay, so you also need to know in assimilation, you also need to understand the function of liver because the liver will utilize this. It directs all these nutrients to go where and what happens to your nutrients. Okay, so this is the assimilation process in the liver. So I've labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So number 1 is what happens to the amino acids. Okay, later I'll put in the in diagrams in the table. Number 2 is what happens is deamination. Number 2 is deamination. Excess urea is converted into excess amino acid is converted into urea. Then it is excreted by kidneys. Okay. Then number 3, your amino acids are also converted into other useful stuff like plasma protein. Okay, put here plasma protein, right? It's also used to make protoplasm, okay, and so on. And also number 4, your glucose. What happens to your glucose? Okay, just now we talk about amino acid. Your glucose will be converted into glycogen when there's too much of glucose, and glucose is released into the blood, into the body cells or given to the body cells to carry out, to produce energy through cellular respiration. Okay, and lipids are used to make new plasma membrane. All right, so these are basically what happens to these 3 things. So this is basically assimilation. What are we doing? What do we do with these 3 nutrients that we have just absorbed from the small intestine? Okay, so let's look at the points. Amino acid, what happens to amino acid? So liver synthesizes plasma protein, okay, and also enzymes. in the from the amino acid that is absorbed. It makes plasma protein like globulin, okay, and also fibrinogen, albumin. These are plasma protein. Then, if there's excess amino acid, they are broken down through the process called deamination, and it's expelled in the urine. So the urea is in the urine. Okay, and then when the body is under extreme stress or starvation, when there's not enough carbohydrate, you find that your protein will also can be oxidized to produce energy. But this will be very extreme. Extreme in the sense that when you really are starving for many days, okay, you have finished your supply of carbohydrates, your body already finished the glucose, also finished the glycogen, also finish the fat, okay, the visceral fat, the fat that is on your skin and whatever is already burned off, oxidized. Still not enough, already done, okay, you already thin already, right, you no more fat already. Then your body will go and use up your protein. Now that is very dangerous because your amino acids, all right, many of them, your protein is actually forms your enzymes, your all these muscles and all that. So if you're forcing your body to use up your structural protein, your body will break down. Okay, so this excess amino acid, this one referring to the after deamination. The other part, remember we took out the amino acid, we took out the amino group. The other part can be used to oxidize, can be used to used to produce energy when there's lack of glucose supply. Okay, so next, what happens to glucose? All right, glucose. So that's number 1 here. I mentioned from the diagram there. This is number 2. All right, and number 3. This is what happens to the amino acids. Okay, number 4. Right. Now, glucose in the liver is used for cellular respiration. So this is the main usage of glucose. Why we need glucose? Okay, we break down the food, we get the glucose because we want to produce energy, and the process is cellular respiration. So if you have excess glucose, okay, too much glucose because of your blood, you ate too much, you have a lot of carbohydrate food, so there's too much glucose, it will be converted into glycogen and stored in the liver, all right? But if your glycogen supply is limited, actually the glycogen supply is at a limit, there's a limit. There's only so much your body can contain or to keep or store your glycogen. If already maximum, all your body can keep your glycogen is already maximum, the store is already maximum. What happens is your body will convert that glucose into fat. That's why you will put on weight. You put on weight when your glucose cannot be converted to glycogen anymore because it's already maximum. It will be converted into fat. Okay, because if you have too much glycogen, too much of glucose, it equals to having fat actually. Okay, so your glycogen, when you do not have enough energy, your storage of glycogen will be converted into glucose when your glucose level drops. Usually when you're fasting, okay, during bulan puasa, for example, you ate only in the morning, then after that you have to not eat the whole day. So gradually, by the end of the day, your glucose in the blood already very finished. You will be converting your glycogen into glucose just to keep you for those until your next meal, which is going to be buka puasa. Okay, all right. So that is number 5 lah. Okay, correlate to the picture that I've shown earlier. Okay, so now what about process in the cell? That was assimilation in the liver. Okay, that also happens in the liver. In the cells, right? If all these substances come to your cells, right? So your cells will make use of the amino acid to synthesize new protoplasm, to make new materials, to make new cells, to make materials to make new cells. Okay, to replace the damaged tissues or damaged cells, because your cells will be shed. Okay, your cells will die, they will not stay with you forever, right? So you have to make new ones to replace. And then your amino acids are also used to synthesize, to make hormones and enzymes, okay, which is important for your metabolic processes. For glucose, okay, this is the main thing for glucose. You oxidize the glucose in cellular respiration to release water, energy, and carbon dioxide. So that you can survive entire day, all right? You are producing ATP every minute of the day, okay, with your glucose in your blood. And then any excess of glucose in your blood, it will be converted into glycogen and stored. either in the liver or in the muscles. So for here is in the body cells, in the muscles, in the cells. Just now was in the liver. Okay, and then if your storage of glycogen is already maximum, your glucose will be converted into fat, and therefore you will gain weight. Okay, what about lipids? Phospholipids and cholesterol. Okay, these are the things that is needed to make plasma membrane. So in order to make plasma membrane, you need these substances, phospholipid and cholesterol, which you also absorb from you absorb your fatty acid and glycerol, and it is converted into these substances. Okay, and you need it to make your plasma membrane. Okay, and then your excess fat, if you have too much of your fat, it will be kept in the adipose tissue, the tissue in under the skin. Okay, that's why you find that your body weight will increase and your size of the body increases because of additional fat stored in the adipose tissue. And then when you are starving, all right, you already, like I mentioned, you finish your supply of carbohydrates. So the next thing your body will do is to go for your fat. So your fat will be oxidized, it will metabolize, oxidize when you don't have enough food. And that's why what people want to do when they diet. When they're dieting, they are forcing their body to oxidize the fat, not oxidizing the protein. If you oxidize the protein, it's extreme already, it's too extreme. You're over dieting yourself. So when you're dieting and you want to slim down, what you should be doing is just to make sure that you make your body burn the fat so that there'll be less fat and you'll be slimmer. Okay, so usually like this, all right, first choice is your carbohydrate. Lack of carbohydrate, finish supply, your body goes to your fat. When your fat is finished, all right, that is very, very dangerous. Your body will go and oxidize your protein, the structural protein. That is very bad. You will break down, your muscles will break down and so on. Okay, and that's what happens to anorexia nervosa patients, because they are so extremely dieting themselves. They only left, you can see the skin and the bones. The muscles are wasting away. Okay, all right. So that is the lesson I have for you today. All right. So next lesson will be 9.5, 9.6, 9.7. I'll finish off chapter 9. I think some of the schools are a little bit way ahead after chapter 10 and above. So anyway, thanks for watching. There's no question here today. So if you have any questions, you can always telegram me. Okay, I'll be happy to answer a question if you need to. Okay, bye-bye. I'll see you next lesson then. Bye-bye and thanks. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.